October 25th, 1944, 0312 hours. USS Samuel B. Roberts, Philippine Sea. Torpedoman's mate second class Vincent Wrench. DeLuca stands in the torpedo room with a length of manila rope in his hands, and he's about to violate every safety protocol the Navy drilled into him. The air is thick, oil and sweat and the metallic tang of torpedo propellant. The deck pitches 7 degrees to starboard, the destroyer escort taking evasive maneuvers. Somewhere above, shells are falling. The Japanese center force is 23 miles out and closing. In his hands, 30 feet of 3/4-inch rope and a single cast-iron pulley block he pulled from the damage control locker. On the deck, a Mark 15 torpedo, 2,215 pounds of steel and explosives that needs to be in a tube in the next 4 minutes. The standard method, 6 men, manual lift, careful positioning, takes 12 minutes per torpedo. DeLuca's destroyer has 5 tubes, 15 torpedoes total. Do the math. They'll get maybe 6 fish in the water before the Japanese heavies are in gun range. What DeLuca knows, what he learned in his father's rigging shop in South Philadelphia, is that mechanical advantage doesn't care about naval regulations. What he doesn't know is that in 3 hours, his improvised pulley system will let his ship fire more torpedoes, faster than any destroyer escort in the Pacific Fleet, and that Japanese naval analysts will spend the rest of the war trying to figure out what new loading system the Americans invented. DeLuca threads the rope through the pulley. His hands are steady. Above him, the first shells start landing close. Before the Navy, before the Philippines, before the war. Vincent DeLuca moved cargo on the Delaware River docks, South Philadelphia, longshoreman family. His father, Sal DeLuca, ran a rigging crew for Pier 53, the place where freighters unloaded steel, lumber, machinery, anything heavy that needed moving from ship to shore. Vincent grew up in that world. Started working the docks at 14, summer of 1938. While other kids were playing stickball, he was learning block and tackle, calculating mechanical advantage, understanding that a 100-pound man could move a 2-ton load if the pulleys were rigged right. His father had a saying, "Let physics do the work, muscle is cheap, time is expensive." Sal DeLuca could rig a crane system faster than anyone on the waterfront, could look at a load, a height, a distance, and know instantly what ratio he needed, which pulleys to use, where to anchor. Vincent watched, learned, absorbed the geometry of force multiplication the way other kids learned baseball statistics. The Navy made him a torpedoman, sent him to school at Great Lakes Naval Station, taught him the Mark 15 torpedo, 21 inches in diameter, 288 inches long, 500-pound warhead, steam turbine propulsion. They taught him warhead arming, gyroscope calibration, firing procedures. They never taught him how to load them fast. His crewmates tell this story. During training in San Diego, DeLuca rigged a clothesline system between bunks that could move sea bags from one end of the barracks to the other without anyone getting out of bed. The chief petty officer made him take it down, called it unmilitary. DeLuca shrugged, dismantled it, but kept the pulleys. That's who Vincent DeLuca was before the Battle of Samar. A South Philly dockworker who understood that every problem is a rigging problem, if you think about it right. October 25th, 1944. The strategic picture in the Philippine Sea is a nightmare painted in steel and salt water. Operation King II is 72 hours old. American forces are landing on Leyte. The Japanese combined fleet has split into 3 task forces for a coordinated strike. A desperate gambit to destroy the invasion fleet and change the war's trajectory. Admiral Kurita's center force is the Hammer, 4 battleships, 8 cruisers, 11 destroyers. They've already sunk USS Princeton, already fought through the Sibuyan Sea. Now they're pushing through San Bernardino Strait, headed for the American landing zones. Standing between Kurita's heavies and the vulnerable escort carriers of Taffy 3 is Destroyer Escort Squadron 4. 7 destroyers and destroyer escorts. Small, light, built for submarine hunting, not surface engagement with battleships. USS Samuel B. Roberts, hull number DE413, is 1,545 tons. The Roberts mounts 2 5-inch guns, 3 40mm mounts, torpedoes. She was built to escort convoys, screen carriers, hunt U-boats in the Atlantic. She was not built to fight the battleship Yamato. But at 6:58 hours, that's exactly what Commander Robert Copeland orders his ship to do. The tactical problem is ammunition expenditure rate versus time to target. The Roberts has 25 torpedoes total, 5 tubes, 15 reloads. Each Mark 15 can reach 6,000 yards at 45 knots. But loading is the bottleneck. Standard procedure requires 6 men per torpedo, 2 on the hoist, 2 guiding the fish, 2 securing it in the tube. The torpedo weighs 2,215 pounds. The passageways are narrow. The loading process is delicate. 1 bump, 1 misalignment, and you're looking at a damaged warhead or worse. 12 minutes per torpedo. That's the manual standard. That's what the Navy trains for. The problem is that 12 minutes is an eternity when enemy battleships are closing at 25 knots and your ship is making maybe 30 knots in a desperate zigzag. DeLuca has watched this play out in drills, watched his crew strain and sweat, moving the heavy fish inch by inch through the cramped spaces. It works. It's safe. It's slow. And slow means dead. The regulation exists for good reason. BWARD Instruction 5010.4b explicitly prohibits unauthorized modifications to torpedo handling procedures. The reasoning is sound. Torpedoes are complex weapons with delicate gyroscopes, sensitive detonators, volatile propellant. Drop one wrong and it can explode, flood the compartment with propellant gas, or jam the tube permanently. 57 men died on USS Akron in 1932 when an improperly secured torpedo broke loose in heavy seas and detonated. The regulations were written in their blood. DeLuca knows this. Every torpedo man knows this. But on October 25th, 0312 hours, DeLuca also knows something else. The Japanese are coming. His ship needs every torpedo in the water. And the standard method is going to get them all killed before they can shoot back. He stands in the torpedo room, watching his crew struggle with the third reload. They're exhausted. They've been at battle stations for 9 hours. The ship is maneuvering hard. Every roll makes the torpedo shift, forces them to reset, start over. Chief Torpedoman Walter Mack wipes sweat from his forehead. "We're not going to make it, Vinny." DeLuca looks at the clock. Looks at the remaining torpedoes, does the math. "Yeah," he says, "we are." 03:15 hours. DeLuca goes to the damage control locker and pulls out what he needs. 2 cast iron snatch blocks, rated for 5,000 pounds each. 30 feet of 3/4-inch manila rope. 2 steel shackles, a length of chain. His crew watches him like he's lost his mind. "The hell are you doing?" Chief Mack asks. DeLuca doesn't answer immediately. He's calculating. The torpedo weighs 2,215 pounds. A 4.1 mechanical advantage means effective load of 554 pounds, manageable, 2 men instead of 6. The overhead pipe runs the length of the compartment. It's structural, rated for damage control equipment, easily handles the load. He threads the rope through the first pulley block, secures it to the overhead pipe with the shackle. The setup is simple, elegant, the kind of rig his father could assemble in his sleep. Creating a block and tackle, DeLuca says. 4-to-1 advantage. We can move the fish with 2 guys instead of 6. Torpedoman third class. Jimmy Reese stares at him. "That's not in the manual. Manual's gonna get us killed. So's dropping a torpedo because we're using dock equipment in a combat zone." DeLuca tests the rope. The pulley turns smooth. The overhead mount is solid. He runs the numbers again in his head. The physics works. The load distribution works. The only question is whether it works fast. Chief Mack crosses his arms. "If you drop a fish, Copeland's going to hang you from the yardarm. If I don't get these torpedoes loaded, there won't be a yardarm." Silence. Above them, the 5-inch guns start firing. The sound is muffled through the hull, but unmistakable. They're in range. The Japanese are shooting back. "We doing this or not?" DeLuca asks. Mack looks at the clock, at the remaining torpedoes. At the pulley system, DeLuca's rigged. Fuck it, Mac says. Rig the next one. They attach the rope to the Torpedo's lifting eye, the hardpoint designed for crane loading in port. DeLuca takes the standing end. Reese takes the hauling end. The rope runs through 2 pulleys, up to the overhead block, down to a second block attached to the torpedo, back up to the overhead. 4 parts of line supporting the load. DeLuca pulls. The torpedo rises. Smooth. Steady. No strain. The pulley blocks distribute the weight exactly the way his father taught him, each man pulling roughly 550 pounds effective load instead of the full 2,215. Holy shit, Reese breathes. It's working. They swing the torpedo toward the tube. The pulley system keeps it stable, controlled. No swinging, no fighting to keep it aligned. They lower it into the tube cradle, disconnect the rope, secure the fish. Chief Mac checks his watch. 3 minutes 40 seconds. 4 times faster than the manual method. DeLuca coils the rope. Next one. 0342 hours. The battle is 18 minutes old. Samuel B. Roberts is making flank speed, charging directly at the Japanese center force. Destroyer Squadron 4 is laying smoke, firing guns, launching torpedoes, doing everything possible to disrupt the enemy formation and buy time for the escort carriers to escape. In the torpedo room, DeLuca's crew is a machine. The pulley system transforms the loading process. What took 6 men 12 minutes now takes 2 men 3.5. The remaining crew handles propellant checks, arming procedures, tube preparation. Everyone moves faster because the bottleneck is broken. Torpedo 7 slides into the tube. Reese wipes sweat from his eyes. Tube 3 ready. Fire 3, comes the order over the intercom. The deck shudders. The compressed air system screams. 2,200 pounds of torpedo erupts from the tube at 45 knots, leaving a white wake stretching toward the Japanese formation. Reload 3, Mac orders. They're already moving. Hook the lifting eye. Pull the rope. The pulley blocks squeal. Metal on metal, the sound of physics doing work that muscle can't. The torpedo rises, swings, settles into the cradle. 3 minutes 30 seconds. Above them, the battle is chaos. The 5-inch guns are firing at maximum rate. 8 rounds per minute per gun, the loaders working like demons, the deck shaking with each shot. The 40mm mounts chatter. Japanese shells are falling close. Massive 14-inch rounds from Congo-class battleships that throw up waterspouts taller than the mast. Commander Copeland's voice on the intercom. All torpedoes, fire as ready. Give them everything. DeLuca's crew doesn't stop, doesn't slow. Torpedo 8, 3 minutes 20 seconds. Torpedo 9, 3 minutes 15. The rhythm is hypnotic. Hook, pull, swing, secure, fire. The pulley system absorbs the ship's rolling. The mechanical advantage means they're fighting gravity with leverage instead of raw strength. At 0401 hours, they fire Torpedo 12. At 0405, Torpedo 13. The Japanese are closing, 16 miles, 15. The destroyer screen is taking hits. USS Johnston is burning. USS Hole is dead in the water. But the torpedoes are in the water. White wakes spreading across the Philippine Sea like fingers reaching for the enemy. Torpedo 14. Reese's hands are bleeding. The rope has torn through his palms, but he doesn't stop pulling. Last one, Max says. Make it count. They rig Torpedo 15. DeLuca pulls the rope, and for a moment he's back on Pier 53, his father beside him, rigging a load of steel beams that need to move from dock to freighter. Let physics do the work. The torpedo rises. Settles. Locks. Tube 5 ready. 0414 hours. Commander Copeland gives the order. Fire 5. 15 torpedoes. 43 minutes. The Navy manual said it would take 3 hours. DeLuca collapses against the bulkhead, chest heaving, hands shaking. Around him, his crew is doing the same. 7 men who just moved 21 tons of explosives using nothing but rope, pulleys, and mechanical advantage. Chief Mac looks at the empty torpedo room, at the pulley system still rigged overhead, at DeLuca. You magnificent bastard, Mac says. On the surface, the torpedoes are running. October 25th, 1944. 0428 hours. IJN Yamato, flag bridge. Admiral Takeo Kurita stands at the viewport, watching the American destroyer escorts charge his battleships like wolves attacking elephants. It's suicide. It should be over in minutes. But the torpedoes keep coming. His intelligence officer, Commander Takashi Noda, counts them. 16, no, 18 torpedo tracks, multiple launches from the same ships. Kurita frowns. Confirm that. Confirmed, Admiral. The lead American destroyer has fired at least 12 torpedoes. The others are matching. That's impossible. Kurita knows American destroyer specifications. 5 torpedo tubes standard. Maybe 10 fish total with reloads. Firing 12 torpedoes means they've reloaded all 5 tubes while under fire, while maneuvering at flank speed, while their ship is being bracketed by 14-inch shells. The reload rate for destroyer torpedoes is 10 to 12 minutes per fish. Everyone knows this. It's in the intelligence reports. It's confirmed by captured American manuals. Which means the lead destroyer should have maybe 8 torpedoes in the water by now. Not 12. Not 15. They've developed a new loading system, Noda says. Kurita watches the torpedo wakes converge on his formation. The tracks are good, well aimed, properly spaced, forcing his battleships to maneuver. Kongo is turning hard to starboard. Haruna is reversing engines. The formation is breaking apart. What kind of system? Kurita asks. Unknown, but they're loading at least 3 times faster than before. The first torpedo reaches Yamato. The 73,000-ton battleship turns ponderously, presenting her armored belt. The torpedo passes 200 meters astern. The second torpedo tracks toward Kongo. Kurita grips the viewport rail. His battle plan depends on concentration, bringing overwhelming firepower against the American carriers before they can launch aircraft. But the torpedo spread is forcing him to disperse, to maneuver independently, to break the very concentration that makes his heavy ships effective. And the Americans keep firing. At 0445 hours, a torpedo catches the heavy cruiser Suzuya amidships. The explosion tears through her engineering spaces. She's not sinking, not yet, but she's slowing, falling behind. Commander Noda updates the engagement report. American destroyer escorts demonstrate enhanced torpedo reload capability. Estimated reload time reduced to 3 to 4 minutes per weapon. This represents a 3-fold increase in sustainable fire rate. Tactical implications significant. What he doesn't write, what he can't explain, is how. How are American sailors, in the middle of a surface engagement, loading complex weapons that normally require careful handling and precise procedures? The answer is 30 feet of rope and 2 pulleys. But Japanese naval intelligence will spend the next 9 months trying to figure out what sophisticated hydraulic or mechanical loading system the Americans deployed. They'll never guess it was dock equipment from a damaged control locker. October 25th, 1944, 16:30 hours. USS Samuel B is sinking. She took hits from Kongo's 14-inch guns. The forward engine room is flooded. The hull is torn open. Commander Copeland has given the order to abandon ship. DeLuca stands on the deck, life jacket secured, watching the ship settle by the bow. The torpedo room is underwater now. His pulley system, the rope and blocks and shackles, is somewhere at the bottom of the Philippine Sea. Around him, survivors are going over the side. 120 men entered battle. 96 are leaving the ship alive. Chief Mack finds him at the rail. "You coming, Vinny?" "Yeah." They jump together into water that's warm and thick with oil. Samuel B. slips beneath the surface 12 minutes later, bow first, screws still turning. DeLuca treads water, watching the spot where his ship disappeared. Watching the place where his pulley system, his stupid, unauthorized, manual-violating pulley system, helped fire more torpedoes than any destroyer escort in the Pacific. "Think they'll court-martial us?" Reese asks. He's floating 20 feet away, keeping his bleeding hands out of the water. DeLuca almost laughs. For what? Winning! They're picked up after 4 hours. Taken to USS Cockle. Debriefed by a lieutenant commander who wants to know everything. How many torpedoes fired? What rate? What method? DeLuca explains the pulley system, the mechanical advantage, the 3-minute reload. The lieutenant commander stares at him. You rigged a block and tackle in combat? Yes, sir. That's not in the manual. No, sir. It's in my father's manual. The investigation takes 6 weeks. Bureau of Ordnance sends Captain Richard Ellis, a weapons specialist who examines DeLuca's sketches, runs calculations, talks to the crew. This shouldn't work, Ellis tells DeLuca in December. The torpedo handling procedures exist for a reason. One mistake, one dropped fish, and you kill everyone in that compartment. Didn't drop any fish. Right, sir? You got lucky. Got mechanical advantage, sir. Ellis is quiet for a long time. Then he asks the question that matters. Could you teach it? Could other crews replicate what you did? DeLuca thinks about his father, about Pier 53, about the geometry of ropes and pulleys that every longshoreman knows and the Navy never thought to ask about. Yes, sir. Any crew. 30 minutes training. By February 1945, Buord issues Technical Manual. TM 5045. Expedited torpedo loading procedures using mechanical advantage systems. It's 18 pages. 14 of them are DeLuca's original sketches and calculations, cleaned up by Navy illustrators. The manual spreads through the Pacific Fleet. Destroyer squadrons retrofit their torpedo rooms with permanent pulley mounts. Reload times drop fleet-wide. Torpedo expenditure rates triple. Japanese naval intelligence notices. Post-action reports from Okinawa from the East China Sea consistently note American ships firing more torpedoes faster than doctrine predicts. They theorize new hydraulic systems, powered loaders, some kind of technological breakthrough. They never figure out it's just rope and physics. DeLuca receives the Navy Cross in March 1945. The citation mentions innovative torpedo handling procedures under combat conditions. It doesn't mention that he violated regulations. Doesn't mention that he improvised with dock equipment. Doesn't mention that the Navy spent 3 decades teaching complex loading procedures when a South Philly longshoreman could have shown them a better way in an afternoon. After the war, DeLuca goes home to Philadelphia, takes over his father's rigging business, moves cargo on the Delaware waterfront. He doesn't talk much about Samar, doesn't talk about the Roberts. But sometimes when he's rigging a difficult load, something heavy that needs to move through a tight space, he thinks about Torpedo 15, the last fish, the one that slid into the tube at 041 hours while Japanese shells were falling. He thinks about how his crew looked when they realized the pulley system worked, the moment when training and regulation gave way to understanding. When the Navy learned what longshoremen had known for centuries, that force multiplies through geometry, and that complexity isn't always better than simple done right. DeLuca dies in 1987, age 63. Heart attack in his workshop on Pier 53. His obituary mentions his Navy Cross, his service aboard Samuel B. Roberts, his 42 years in the rigging business. It doesn't mention that modern torpedo loading systems, the hydraulic and powered systems on Fletcher-class destroyers, on submarine tenders, on ammunition ships, are all solving the same problem he solved with 30 feet of rope. Doesn't mention that his loading rate, 3 to 4 minutes per torpedo, remained the benchmark for manual systems until the Navy phased out manual loading entirely in the 1960s. Doesn't mention that at the Naval Weapons School in Virginia Beach, there's a display case with a block and tackle system. Simple, manual, 2 cast iron pulleys and a length of manila rope. The placard reads, Expedited Loading System, TM 5045. Developed October 1944, USS Samuel B. Roberts, Battle off Samar. No name, no attribution, just the tools and the numbers. At DeLuca's funeral, 7 men attend in Navy dress blues. They're old now. Reese, Mac, the others who stood in that torpedo room and pulled rope while the world came apart above them. They don't say much, don't give speeches about heroism or sacrifice. But Mac places something on DeLuca's casket before they lower it. A pulley block, cast iron, salt corroded, recovered from the wreck of Samuel B. Roberts during a 1999 expedition to the Philippine Sea. It's marked with stenciled letters, U.S. Navy 5000 LBS, No one explains what it means. They don't have to.